Right, Harry, let's get into it with Arsenal. You've got Zubimendi in, Kepa, Norgard, Madueke. As it stands, obviously we know that there's maybe a deal to be done with Ebereich Chiesa. Wow, by the way, we've got Gyökeres looking like that's going to be sort of get over the dotted line. But as it stands, are these 4 players enough to help Arsenal win the Premier League next season?
No. Is the simple answer to that. They still need to do those 2 deals, I think, that you've mentioned there. Viktor Gyökeres is a must, and having come this far, I'd be shocked now if Arsenal were to either A, turn their attention elsewhere, or just decide against moving forward with the centre-forward that we've all known they've needed for such a long time. So I expect that one to happen. But that was the marquee signing going into the summer, the centre-forward. Yeah. That was what all the buzz and excitement was about.
And that's the stick everyone's beating you with.
Exactly.
Including me. And because I do think, it can be seen as a stick to beat you with, but it is also a glaring sort of gap in what looks to be a brilliant football team. Like, for me, I always think this about Arsenal, that the victory over Real Madrid was almost like a crowning moment for Arsenal. It was a boy-to-man sort of moment. And yes, you didn't go on and complete that. And yes, you didn't win the Premier League. But I think that sort of like is a real moment for Arsenal. You just need that final piece in the jigsaw. Yeah,
I agree with that. I think the centre-forward talk has existed and has been there for a while. I don't think it became the biggest need until last season, though. I think prior to that, when people were talking about, Kai Havertz not being able to do the job and all that, I agree that there were better centre-forward options out there. But I think that was taken a little bit too far. I think last season, when you lost Kai Havertz and Gabby Jesus was out with that long-term injury, that was when it became very, very clear that beyond those 2 guys, none of whom, by the way, are out-and-out goal scorers, Arsenal don't have anything else. I mean, they finished the season pretty much with Mikel Merino playing at centre forward. And listen, he did a great job. Like, don't take anything away from him. And it's not easy to come in and play a role that's very different at a club that you're still settling in at, by the way. And not with the first choice flank players with him most of the time either. And an out of form Martin Odegaard behind him. So I think he did a really good job. But Arsenal clearly needed at the beginning of this summer to go out and act on this. And so I'm not one of those people that was using it as a stick to beat them with going back previously. I do think in January that need was there, and I felt a little bit let down that Arsenal didn't, at the very least, go and try and find a short-term solution, someone to help us in that short period of time. When they didn't, it was kind of the opinion of a lot of us that, well, that's okay because they really know who they want in the summer, and it's all going to be done very, very quickly. They've already put the pieces in place, and here we are now. We're on our pre-season tour. The team have landed in Singapore, playing our first game on Wednesday against AC Milan, and we have no new attacker in the squad.
What is the latest on Gyökeres? Is it just a situation where it's one of those things that is taking a lot of time because it involves a lot of money, or is there concern that somehow that deal won't go through?
I'm not concerned that it won't go through. In fact, I'm pretty confident that it will. Okay. But it's really difficult to put your finger on exactly what the hold-up is here, because we heard over a week ago now that Arsenal and Sporting had come to some sort of agreement with regards to the overall fee. Then we're hearing that Sporting have maybe reneged a little bit on some of the add-ons. They want certain add-ons to be included that maybe Arsenal don't like, and that is causing a little bit of a delay. But I thought that was the type of delay that would take maybe 2-3 days to iron out. Instead, it's been a week and a bit, and we're still all sitting here going, when are we going to get this news of a total agreement? When is he going to be able to go and have his medical and hopefully join up with the rest of the team to be a part of that pre-season tour? Because I think that's really important, Max.
Massively, yeah.
You have to be able to get in there nice and early, get to know your teammates, work with them through pre-season. And this delay is very, very frustrating. The Madueke thing is delayed as well, obviously, because he's been at the Club World Cup. But you can kind of understand that. There's good reasoning to that. I feel a little bit frustrated that Arsenal haven't got this over the line yet. But when I try and sort of go over it in my mind and I try and figure out what the problem could be, because I don't believe it's just a couple of million or just add-ons or the structure of those add-ons. I feel like there must be something on the table that Arsenal really don't like.
Right.
For them not to just go, take that
it,
extra bit of money, let's get on with it. They just dropped 52 million quid on Noni Madueke. So there must be something there that they really don't like and they really don't want to compromise on. What that is anybody's guess.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that one transpires. But I think for Arsenal fans, they'll be relieved to hear you say that you don't think that this isn't going to go through.
Yeah, I think it will happen eventually.
Yeah. Now, we were talking at the top of the show about some of the analysis you've done on strikers that Arsenal, or that you thought might help Arsenal. Again, what can you tell us about Gyökeres as a striker? Of course, we've seen him at Coventry in the Championship. Not everybody watches Coventry in the Championship. We've seen him score a hat-trick against Man City. He looks, I would say, powerful and explosive, that he can finish. What's he going to bring to Arsenal, and how's that going to help improve them as they try to sort of compete for a Premier League title against what looks to be an absolutely sort of gargantuan Liverpool squad? I
think he brings power, strength, pace. I think he's a focal point that Arsenal are at times missing. I think he's an occupier of centre-halves, which, again, I think at times Arsenal are missing. Yeah. The amount of times over the last couple of seasons I've seen Arsenal put together this wonderful move, get to the byline, cut the ball back, and there's no one in the centre-forward position. And that is because in the build-up, the centre-forward, whether it's Havertz or Jesus or even Marino, because that's not naturally where they want to be, they go drifting. And I think having someone that occupies that space all the time will make the world of difference to Arsenal Football Club, and should, in theory, create spaces for some of the others around him. I think people keep talking about the journey that Viktor Gyökeres has been on, his career so far. And a lot of people will say, well, he's played at Coventry, he's gone over to Portugal, it's not great there, and he's scored a lot of goals there. But how does that translate? And I think that's a very fair question. What's the exchange rate? Well, the 39 goals in the Portuguese league convert to in the Premier League. But I think for me, this is a guy who is determined to come to Arsenal, and that carries a lot of weight. Yeah. This is someone that's been on an unconventional journey, if you like. It's not been the glamorous journey that many of Europe's top strikers go on. He's coming up in a way like Jamie Vardy did, where he's done it the hard way. And when you get there, having been on that journey, I think sometimes that can give you a little bit extra in terms of, you know, that want to really go on. We also write players off too young, in my opinion, nowadays. Gyökeres is, I think, 27 years old, and people are saying, well, it's a lot of money for a 27-year-old. That's the stage we've got to at football, it's madness, isn't it? Where it's like 27. But so many of these forwards have developed and improved and, you know, matured like fine wines. I think of one that played at Arsenal, Olivier Giroud. The latter stages of his career, he was phenomenal. Absolutely, yeah. Go back before that, there wasn't really much to shout about. Yeah. So I'm not writing him off on that basis, and I think that, again, just to circle back to that point, because he's so determined to make the move, really wants it, he's doing everything within his power to facilitate it, makes me think that, you know, this is only going one way. He will end up an Arsenal player, and when he does, I think he'll be so desperate to succeed that he will. I also like the fact that he's come from Coventry. I like the fact, as you say, he has this unconventional route, because sometimes I just think people have got too much of a fixed mindset. They want the sort of flashy foreign striker, which, you know, in another world, that's exactly what Viktor Gyökeres is. He scored 100 goals over 2 seasons for Sporting Lisbon. What's not to like? Of course, there's questions over the exchange rate. But the fact that he's played in the Championship, the fact that he's grafted to become the player he is today, for me, that's an exciting prospect, because you want that bit of metal, you want that bit of needle in your squad, which, you know, and I don't necessarily have an opinion on this, but a criticism of Arsenal over the years, even under Arsene Wenger, has been sort of, it's beautiful to watch, but where's the oomph? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And he won. I think Mikel Arteta's side, or Mikel Arteta's certainly shown that they've got oomph, that they can get a goal and defend and sort of annoy opponents and get under their skin and win games ugly. He's shown that. But I certainly think Viktor Gyökeres has got a bit of that. He's a brute, and like you say, he's going to occupy defenders. I think people like Saka will love playing with him. Yeah. Ezra, if he comes on, will love playing with him because he draws attention, gives them that few extra yards to go and do magic. I just can't see what's not to be excited about, like. Yeah, and I think that kind of narrative of Arsenal not having that bit of extra, that bit of needle, I think it's one of those pre-existing narratives that, unfortunately, with some people, has still continued, even though all the evidence is there that that's not the case anymore. I mean, last season, you know, we were being criticised for getting the most players sent off and things like that. And it's like, well, hold on a minute, we're either a soft touch or we're ill-disciplined. It can't be both. Yeah. And so, I think that's something that's stuck with Arsenal. But I agree with you. I think the striker signing is the one that everybody went into the summer really excited about. The fact that we've done some business already is very positive. And some of those players that we've brought in, by the way, especially Martin Zubimendi, that's gone under the radar. What a great signing that is. It's felt like he's an Arsenal player for years. Exactly. And because that was talked about back in January as being a done deal, I think a little bit of the excitement has just faded away because of the longevity.
Maybe that's a good thing for him, though.
Yeah, maybe.
Is that all the attention might be on Gyökeres when he finally gets his hands on an Arsenal shirt, and then he comes and turns up and does some magic. I've got to ask, though, you did say at the top of the show, I don't know if this is verbatim, but something like you'd be stupid not to think Liverpool are firm favourites for the Premier League. Where does this put Mikel Arteta and his future at Arsenal? I don't want to be the person to start calling for his head. I don't believe that at all. I think what he's achieved to get you to where you are has been astonishing. The culture shift at the club, the fact that you're in contention for Premier League titles shows brilliant work that he's done. But you know more than I, there are a section of Arsenal fans, like there are at every single football club, that are incredibly expectant, incredibly impatient, sometimes even fickle. And if Arsenal can't win a Premier League, what would keep Arteta in the job? Or maybe a better question is, what would keep Arsenal fans trusting in Arteta to take them forward?
It's a really difficult one because there's a lot of people that would just say to you, it's black and white. Win a trophy and you're fine. But you win the Carabao Cup, that isn't going to satisfy the hunger among Arsenal fans to win one of the big trophies. Now, I'm not being disrespectful to that competition. I don't remember Arsenal winning that cup in my lifetime. They won it when I was a very, very young child. So I don't remember it, right? So I'm not turning my nose up at it per se, but this project has been built for the biggest things. And that's where I think the expectation is now. Mikel needs to win one of the big ones. And you're going to see the hypocrisy come out in the wash if he doesn't win the Premier League, doesn't win the Champions League, but wins the EFL Cup, for example, because there'll be a section of fans that will go, well, he's won a trophy. That's fine. Give him another crack at it. And there'll be another section that will go, well, we don't want to win that trophy. We want to win the big ones. But 12 months ago, they'd have told you that it was just about silverware when judging him. So you're going to see that all come out in the wash. But you got to judge the season as it comes. You can't say he's got to do X or he's got to do Y because football doesn't work like that. Last season was meant to be our season and it wasn't.